What up, creamies? Okay, listen. Let me stop. Wait, hold up. Wait. Don't turn off.
Wait.
Wait. We have a podcast for you. You're gonna like it. Okay, we're doing something different. This is a 3-part series. Okay, part number 1 starting right now. You'll see what it's about. All right, we're gonna get into it. I'm not on coke. The energy is maybe a little cokey, but
it's the whole don't turn this shit off. We're gonna
you gotta
start
grab
soon.
them. I don't know how to do a hook, so like begging is all I have at this point.
Can I riz you up? Yeah.
Can I riz?
Please.
You're right. Maybe I gotta be less desperate next time. I gotta be a little bit more slick.
Don't care if you. We do care if you listen.
We don't care at all.
I do.
Yeah, please.
I'll do a forehead reveal.
Oh. Well, now that you're in the door, welcome. Today, we're talking about a cryptid. But before we get into the weeds of our actual subject, this is going to sound a little like fluff, but we're going to take a side path, and we're going to discuss what a cryptid is. So it's been a while since we've talked Mothmans and crawlers, so we're going to try to start off with a quick visit to our old friend, Lauren Coleman, cryptozoologist, note, friend of the pod. Well, not really. From the Montauk Monster episode.
Lauren Coleman. I have Lauren Coleman too.
Lauren, the goat, really, of cryptozoology, I think. We'll talk about some other notable cryptozoologists, but I think Lauren is my favorite. Coleman considers cryptozoology as the study of animals that are not yet recognized by science or formal zoology, but have some support of their existence either by witness testimony or evidence of their presence. So, for instance, Lauren's museum, the International Cryptozoology Museum, located in beautiful Portland, Maine, has a coelacanth for its logo. So coelacanths are a group of fish which have existed for 410 million years. So late trigger warning for our creationist listeners. Don't know how many of there are. Probably not that many. They were thought to have gone extinct in the late Cretaceous period, so roughly 66 million years ago. But in 1938, one was caught in South Africa. Since then, another modern species of coelacanth was discovered in Indonesia. So you get it. It was an animal that scientists assumed was extinct, but then it turned out to be very much alive. So a big win for ichthyologists and zoologists for sure, but also a big win for our crypto bros. The only crypto bros that we recognize here.
Mm-hmm.
They contributed nothing here, but, a win is a win. We're going to claim that. All this to say, cryptozoology does have some desire to at least appear like a legitimate science. It's more finding Bigfoot than mountain monsters. If you've been listening to our mountain monster series, you'll know what we're talking about. But wait a minute, Ben. You dumb bitch. I hear you screaming. Aren't new species being discovered all the time? What makes cryptozoology different from zoology? So, another friend of the show from the Montauk Monster episode, Darren Naish, says that he feels the distinction between conventional zoology and cryptozoology is an emphasis on folklore and reflection of cultural conceptions of the time. So Naish discusses the Mokole Mabembe, which is a Congolese water monster from mythology, which cryptozoologists of the early 1900s associated with the sauropods, the classic kind of long-necked dinosaurs. And at the time, they were believed to have been an amphibious species. So the kind of water monster equals long lost dinosaur theory was born, right? Likewise, we've got Nessie, of course, and the conception of Nessie and other lake monsters as lake mound plesiosaurs reflect the 19th century belief that plesiosaurs swam upright with upright necks, right? Contemporary paleontologists no longer believe that, but in the early 1900s, that was how they thought that the plesiosaurs swam. Cryptozoology is kind of held on to the beliefs of a certain era, right? And in this view, cryptozoology, with its focus on witness testimony, reflects more of the cultural conditioning that informs how a sighting is interpreted and the psychological mechanisms of memory more than anything related to zoology, right? That's being kind of charitable to cryptozoology, maybe. But early cryptozoologists like Ivan T. Sanderson and Bernard Heuvelmans, his name's Belgian, so, I gave him my best, I'm not sure, did cling to the scientific image of the field they were building, even when they also came out in full support of scams like the Minnesota Iceman, only for it to be revealed to be a latex sculpture, or when Sanderson claimed that 3-foot giant 3-toed footprints could not be faked and were made by a 15-foot tall penguin, And then that was revealed to have been made by two teenagers with sneakers on sticks. So they kind of, they got in bed with some weird ideas. Sanderson also believed that there were what he called vile vortices. And this was his explanation for places like the Bermuda Triangle, that these vile vertices were caused by wrinkles in space-time, gravitational or magnetic aberrations, aliens, or underwater people. So there's some big swings for sure. The line between cryptozoology and the paranormal has always been kind of thin, right? So as I go on to define a cryptid, the dream discovery of every cryptozoologist, let's keep a skeptical eyebrow raised here. Lauren Coleman says the basic working definition for cryptids is either unknown species of animals or those that are thought to be extinct, but which may have survived into modern times and await rediscovery by scientists. Coleman admits that there are debates about whether things like big cats in England or devil dogs should be included as cryptids. Devil dogs shouldn't. That's just my opinion. What do you?
Now, like, in
What do you
thought
think?
of that,
Yeah.
like, there's that one thing that the thylacine that I'm like genuinely
Yeah, in like
terrified
Australia.
of. Yeah, and I'm like,
Mhm,
okay,
right.
so that definition right there, I'm like, is a thylacine a cryptid?
That would fit as kind of the Coleman theory of cryptid.
Okay.
Thylacine, if that was found, would be a cryptid. Or I guess a thylacine right now is a cryptid because we don't know that it exists,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
So, given that part of what makes a cryptid is that it's unknown, right, or it's undiscovered, he says that a cryptid is a cryptid until there's enough evidence that it exists for it to no longer be a cryptid, right?
Oh.
So, like a coelacanth was a cryptid, now it's just a fish.
Okay.
So, cryptid is an unknown category. Bigfoot is a cryptid because we don't know what Bigfoot is. Or some haters might argue if it even exists. You may have picked up some tension here in the cryptid space, right? There's some lot of big ideas floating around out there. There are some people who prefer to think of cryptids as purely undiscovered animals, and who would like to see cryptozoology as a science. And on the other hand, there are people who dare to dream. They're the dreamers, the believers out there. That there are interdimensional portals and supernatural forces, which I think sounds cooler to me.
Mhm.
If you're going to believe in something that probably doesn't exist, why not go all the
Lean
way,
into
right?
it.
Yeah. Brian Regal, in Searching for Sasquatch, divided the cryptozoologist into two categories, the eggheads and the crackpots. And so neither one sounded great there for those terms.
Not very endearing.
No, for real, yeah. And look, we're not gonna settle this here, But it seems apparent that Heuvelmans and Sanderson both had academic backgrounds, but they also both believe some pretty outlandish shit. So maybe the divide between eggheads and crackpots is not that much, right? Venn diagram looking like a circle. There's resentment at being considered academic outsiders, and then there's also a desire to bring their beliefs into the mainstream to be accepted. And there's definitely good things in cryptozoology. For instance, they've long been willing to consider indigenous perspectives, and this traditional ecological knowledge framework has increasingly been accepted into academia. But let's be for real, there are reasons that you can't get an advanced degree as a cryptozoologist. Cryptozoology relies on faith in cryptids and doubt about the space between verifiable fact and belief. It's not a bad thing, but whether you believe Bigfoot is a lost primate or an interdimensional traveler, we still don't have any verifiable evidence that Bigfoot exists. So that's basically the cryptid discussion. And JD, we have to ask, what do you think? Do you think we should consider cryptozoology a science? Or are you more egghead or more crackpot on this one? What do you think?
Okay. I feel like the point of like the cryptid versus like an undiscovered animal kind of thing, like being like a lot of like cultural like folklore kind of thing, like memory more than zoology kind of thing. It I don't want to say like the difference between that cryptids and like listen, because we love them, right? We love to believe in them. I don't want to say like the difference between them is like one is like imaginary. but it's like I don't know. It's not. I don't want to say no. But it's like the wishy-washy like sort of definition of like what a cryptid is and how like the thylacine was definitely real, right? And then it got hunted to extinction, and then it being something that can be considered as a cryptid is very like it's interesting to me because like I know it exists, right?
Yeah.
People hunted it to extinction. It like exists, kind of thing.
Right.
So
it was around like 200 years ago.
yeah. So like
Now it's
for
not.
it
Yeah.
to then go for it to then be something that could be classified as like a cryptid, like a dodo could be a cryptid, like that kind of thing. So like it's the definition of it that is sort of making me kind of.
So are you feeling like resistant to the idea that like a thylacine is a cryptid?
A little bit. I think it's because of the point of like, I know a thylacine was real, and you know, like, okay, like Bigfoot could have been real at some point, but like, not in the tangible like way that the thylacine has, to me at least. Right?
Yeah, I feel that. And like there's like the thing like Lauren Coleman and like cryptozoologists talk about like do like the big cats in England when they're like, oh, there's like a panther in the moors, and it's like, is that, they consider that, some people consider that a cryptid, some people don't. It could just be a regular animal that's like out of place. Which also feels kind of like a cop out, right? That feels like a little like grabbing for an easy win to me. Versus like a Bigfoot or a a Nessie, where it's like that would be a huge find, like, I mean, look, it would be huge to find like a thylacine too. Or and it would be like, a news story to find like a lion prowling around England. But it's not at the same level as like a completely new thing that was just like a creature of legend before,
and it's just like the big thing for me is like, it's just an animal. That is just like a panther in England. That's just a panther in England,
right? As we watched with the Mountain Monsters episode where they caught a quote unquote devil dog,
a wild dog.
It's just a dog. Dogs. Those are just stray dogs.
Like
that's not impressive.
I feel like that is the thing for me, because it's like I'm pretty sure we'll encounter this sort of struggle as we move through this, but it's just like sometimes I'm like, this is a cryptid, that is a fucking animal, that's a dog, like that kind of thing. And I feel like I need there to be some sort of like the feeling that I have when like someone's talking about like Nessie, Mothman, and Bigfoot, like that is like out of nowhere, right?
For sure.
Like that is cryptid territory, but like a thylacine, a dodo, a fucking panther, I'm like, that is an animal, guys.
It's not that impressive. Right. It's like, okay, I get it. It's unusual, but it's not magic.
There's like the impressive sort of like mythicality of a cryptid.
For sure.
Yeah.
And I feel like I don't want it to be like too scientific with my cryptids. Like I don't care about like Bigfoot is actually like a giant Anthropithecus that's lost in the wood. I don't give a fuck. Let it be an interdimensional alien. Let it be doing whatever. Who knows? Remain open to possibilities here. Let's not kid ourselves, the sort of like hanging on a thread when it comes to how scientific it is. Like I want it to be hanging on a thread. Right. It's in an unknown category. It's in a space where it is an unknown thing. Let's leave it as an unknown thing. Let's not pretend, oh, you idiot, you think that it could travel through portals. Well, why not? We don't know it exists. Why couldn't it travel through portals? Right?
You literally don't fucking know.
100%. So I'm like, let's have fun with it. Let's get fucking weird. You know what I mean?
It's like I know you want to hang on to science a little bit for it to be a little bit more believable to everybody, so that you don't look like a, what is it, egghead, crackpot, whatever.
Yeah, right.
But isn't it just a whimsy?
I'm team crackpot, 100%. I'm definitely like, let's go. Let's
give me the fucking whimsy, okay?
100%.
Give me the whimsy.
Bigfoot is real. Tried to eat our ass, like that kind of shit. Like that's what we're after.
Exactly.
Yeah, we're not here for just like, oh, Bigfoot is just like an ape.
No, we've had enough of that in fucking anthropology, biological anthropology. I'm done.
Right, and I feel like, look, come on, if Bigfoot was just an ape, we would have found Bigfoot.
100%.
Well, we found it like every other ape. Like it's not like we're discovering new ape species that often. The great apes are pretty big and noticeable, but interdimensional traveler, that's why you don't find them. Powers.
Exactly.
Exactly. And like speaking of cryptids, we're never going to talk more about the divide between actual animal and cool monster as we get into the real subject here, because today we're talking about the real star of the show, one of the goats, one of the top, I think one of the big three here.
One of the goats. Don't be insensitive right now.
Yeah, there we go. El Chupacabra.
Yeah.
Or the goat sucker for my fellow gringos. So the Chupacabra it's high in the power rankings, right? But actually, it's relative newcomer. It didn't have to grind like Nessie. You know, it didn't put in like 100+ years. It didn't spend years doing open mics like Bigfoot, right? We're not talking 1,000 years of Bigfoot lore, right? What we're talking is, this thing posted some clips basically, and then it blew up and it became part of the folklore of North America, right? It's like the Matt Rife of cryptids, right? Are you with me on this? No. Okay. The Chupacabra got a spot in the Pantheon back in 1995 in Puerto Rico. So I'm slightly younger than the cryptid, than the Chupacabra, and you are.
I'm a year older than the Chups.
A year older than Chupas.
Yeah.
So he's right in the middle. This is our middle sibling.
Yeah.
Basically, set the stage here. Livestock were dying mysteriously, as they are wont to do when cryptids are involved. We watched a fair share of mountain monsters and have learned that the first signs of cryptid activity are often these mysterious livestock deaths. In March, 8 sheep were found dead with mysterious puncture wounds in their neck, reportedly drained of blood. In August, as many as 150 animals were reported killed and drained of blood in the town of Canovanas. And by April 1996, 2,000 animal deaths around the island were attributed to what San Juan DJ Silvio Perez had termed El Chupacabra. There's some debate as to whether he coined it or not. He claims he did. Other people are more dubious about it.
That's also what I have listed.
Just a footnote in there. Just, it's arguable, but we'll give it to Perez here. But there was more than mysterious deaths. There were also sightings of the potential perpetrator. In Canovanas, 30 townspeople claimed to have seen something that swooped down from the sky and leapt over treetops. And the big one, Madeline Tolentino, saw the creature up close and personal. Tolentino saw the creature near her mother's house from a window in mid-August of 1995. Madeline saw a creature with large black eyes, and so JD, I'm going to ask you to read this in your best Puerto Rican accent.
What the fuck?
No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Quote, protruding, running up to its temples and spreading to the sides, about 4 feet, more or less, at the time, it was walking like a human on both legs. Its arms were drawn back in an attack position, as though it were a TV monster. It has 3 long, skinny fingers. The arms are also very long. Its hair was rather short and close to its body. Rather well combed, in fact. It had some round things on its body, and the region seemed ashen, as if something had burned it there. The burn mark revealed pinkish purple skin, as if the top layer had fallen off. Its legs were very long and skinny, and I could see 3 separate toes, like a goose's foot, that had the little thing between the toes. For a nose, it had 2 little holes, and its mouth was a slash. It was closed. At no moment did it open its mouth, so I neither saw fangs nor teeth. I noticed something on its lower back. It looked like it had feathers, but flat on its back. At no point did they rise. The feathers were joined by a sort of membrane and looked reddish, like a mixture of copper and other colors. You might be thinking, wow, she really got a good look at it. And boy, did she, because it goes on. I even got down on the floor to see if it had genitals. It had nothing at all. It was plain and sealed. I laughed and said to my mother, what the heck is this? Does it defecate through his mouth after it eats? It made slow, robot-like movements, as if being controlled by someone. For some reason, Tolentino screamed. Not entirely clear why, but the quote continues. When my mother heard me scream, she decided to go out and grab the creature. The thing took off running. I noticed that it kind of hopped like a kangaroo. It plunged into the woods. My mother ran after it. A boy who works for my husband went into the woods to catch the creature. He says that when he tried to grab the creature, it whipped out what I thought were feathers. He says that they stood straight and that they were very long spines. The spines changed colors, and he says as he pried his mouth open and saw it had really large fangs. Apparently, the Chupacabra was able to break free of the boy's grip and started running much faster than it had. Its feet weren't touching the ground. It was as if it had been suspended in the air, floating. Tolentino's husband, who does not factor at all into this, but did claim to have seen the aftermath of a Chupacabra attack, also added that it had apparently shaved the place on the dog where it was going to make the incision to drink the blood. So also it's shaving hair as well. It's not just biting things. In addition to everything else that Madeline had to add. He also suggests that the Chupacabra had ESP abilities and was able to psychically control the mind of a police officer who tried to shoot it. And then Tolentino also reported that the Chupacabra, quote, leaves some sort of slime. It also left some slime on rabbits it killed. The newspaperman from El Vocero kept it and sent it to Lindell Moulton Howe, a lady in Pennsylvania. She had the slime analyzed over there and says it's nothing from this world. They have no idea what it belongs to, but that it's nothing from this world. So a couple things to flag. We'll be returning here later for sure. But Tolentino says that she saw the creature through a window, but also that she got down on the floor to get a look at its lack of genitals. So just within the story, already some holes. Then the whole Fang encounter with the boy is also told third person. And somehow, despite Madeline Tolentino becoming a minor celebrity for her sighting, the unnamed boy who fucking fought a Chupacabra never showed up, and they never found him. No one ever wanted to talk to the boy.
If I was a boy, I would never stop talking about the time that I fought a fucking Chupacabra.
Yeah, why wouldn't you? Like, if you were a boy that wrestled a Chupacabra, that's like the rest of your life. You're talking about fighting a monster.
As a teen boy, if you grazed a boob, you would tell the entire country.
Oh, sure. Yeah. That's big. That's a big story right there.
Why would you not tell about the time that you sort of 1v1 a Chupacabra?
Yeah, this strange, mysterious creature with spines and no dick. And big eyes and fingers and ESP abilities. You beat something with psychic powers that managed to apparently stop a cop from shooting it. So that's pretty impressive.
Maybe it ESP'd into his brain and was like, "Don't tell anyone."
Hush, hush. What else happened with that Chupacabra then?
Exactly.
What else aren't we hearing? Keeping stum. Also, Linda Moulton Howe does exist. It's real lady. And she did visit Puerto Rico in 1996 to investigate the Chupacabra. But she says that there was never, ever any samples of slime from the Chupacabra to analyze. But in any case, that's the OG Chupacabra sighting, right? This is what it's all drawn from.
Yep.
A paranormal researcher visited Tolentino and drew a sketch of what she described, and this became widely circulated in El Vocero as what the Chupacabra looked like. Small humanoid, big eyes, long limbs, and fingers with spikes on its back. Basically kind of like a, Alien the Hedgehog type thing, right? After Tolentino sightings, other witnesses around the island began to report seeing similar creatures. Daniel Perez reported seeing a creature on a rock before it suddenly jumped through two dense trees without damaging a single leaf. Perez had heard of Tolentino's sighting and seen the sketch of the Chupacabra and immediately recognized the creature as a Chupacabra. It seems likely that Tolentino's version of the creature and the accompanying sketch influenced Perez and some other sightings around Puerto Rico. And the sketch and stories of the mysterious animal deaths were about to go mega viral because in March 1996, Christina Sarlecki, Christina, host of El Show de Cristina, which ran from 1989 to 2010, and in the 1990s was often referred to as the Hispanic Oprah Winfrey, aired an episode on the Chupacabra, which changed the Chupacabra from a Puerto Rican local celebrity to a Latin American superstar, right? Reports of Chupacabra sightings spread from the United States all the way down to Chile. In May 1996, reports of sheep and goats drained of blood spread in north central Mexico, centered around Jalisco. The dead animals were all reported to have 2 tooth marks on the neck and appeared to be drained of blood. A footprint was discovered close to one of the bodies and was identified by the head of the Guadalajara Zoo as that of a dog or a large wolf. 2 investigators set out to solve the mystery, staking out farmyards where the Chupacabra had apparently struck. In each farmyard, they caught dogs. A police official remarked, "I don't know about the rest of Mexico or the rest of the world, but here the Chupacabras are just dogs. This is a huge psychosis. You see it everywhere." In northern Chile, near the rural town of Calama, 300 animals were found dead, some seemingly drained of blood, all with puncture wounds in the neck. And while no one witnessed the attacks, residents reported hearing terrifying sounds in the night. The governor called for an investigation and announced that footprints were soon found, and that at first sight they come pretty near to dog prints, which tend to expand and acquire strange shapes. An operation has been conducted, And we want to point out that there is no evidence of the presence of a strange animal that was found. At the same time, rumors that the Chilean military had captured a Chupacabra family, a male, female, and cub, began to swirl. But in the stories, no sooner had the Chupacabras been caught than a team of NASA scientists arrived in black helicopters and stole the Chupacabras away. Locals came to believe that the Chupacabra was a U.S. government experiment in the Atacama Desert to create a hybrid creature capable of surviving on Mars. Following reports of a Chupacabra sighting near Miami, Florida, a UFO researcher found mysterious tracks and took a cast, concluding that something much like the Chilean tracks, they must have been made by something extraterrestrial. A primatologist and functional anatomist who examined the track casting drew a slightly different conclusion. The track was a clear hoax, and it was either sculpted or the track was made deliberately by pressing into the dirt to make the cast. But the bodies started piling up, and not just dead animals, but Chupacabra bodies. In Nicaragua, Jorge Talavera's flock was being attacked by Chupacabras. In 15 days, it sucked 25 sheep. And my neighbor lost 35 sheep in 10 days. Talavera became determined to kill the creature responsible. One evening, Talavera heard a goat in distress and followed the sound to see, quote, 2 or possibly 3 unknown creatures among his flock of goats. Talavera said the creatures had the head of a bull, rose-colored teeth, were hairless with leathery skin like a bat, and a bumpy crest down their back like crocodiles. Talavera pulled out the blicky and took a shot, wounding one of the creatures and sending both, or all 3, running. 3 days later, a ranch hand came to Talavera, saying that he spotted vultures circling a small cave. Talavera followed the birds and found a skeletal corpse. It appeared to be dog-like, with yellowing skin. Talavera realized he had killed the legendary Chupacabra. A veterinarian Talavera knew suggested it was a genetic hybrid between a dog and some other creature. A local preacher declared that it was a sign of the end times. But whatever it was, Talavera knew that he would have to do more to solidify his claim, and he sent the corpse to the National Autonomous University of Nicaragua. Biologist Pedro Arias Davila reported on the work, quote, "We recorded the characteristics of the skeletal system, the number of vertebrae and ribs, nails, decomposition state, among others, to place it in a database." He reported that nothing anomalous about the creature at first glance, but stressed that there was a need for more analysis, right? Unable to contain their curiosity, people broke into the hospital morgue to see the body. But finally, zoologist Edmundo Torres was able to report on the findings. Quote, "It's a dog, without any room for doubt. This is a common dog." Talavera quickly accused the university of swapping the body as part of a larger conspiracy. His main claim was that the bones and teeth appeared lighter than when he brought it in, and the scientists countered that this was because they had cleaned dirt and debris from the bones. Eventually, Talavera relented and admitted, quote, "Even though it may have been a dog, it was an uncommon one, given that it fed on blood." Which, did it feed on blood?
How you know that?
Do we know for sure? But, not to worry. There were plenty more Chupacabra bodies to come. Devin McAnally, whose name I definitely didn't only include because of his last name, shot a mysterious creature he suspected may have been killing livestock on his Texas ranch. McAnally shot and killed the creature, and he later wrote about what he saw. Quote, "Only a narrow ridge of a quarter-inch long blue hair edged both sides of her spine from the base of her tail to the tip of her shoulders at her neck. Her wrinkled skin immediately made me think of an elephant's. Her skin was a sky blue cast, light gray color with a slight whitish marbling in her hip and flank areas. Her ears weren't pointed like a fox's or even like a coyote's. They were shaped more rounded, like a cat's. She had a long tail, about 18 inches, nearly as long as her trunk, about 20 inches. Her snout was exceptionally long and rat-like. Her jaw revealed 4 incisor teeth, 2 upper and 2 lower that protruded outside her lips like a wild pig." McAnally took a photo of the creature and pulled a couple of teeth from it to send for DNA analysis, before burying the body on his property. When the results returned from New York University, they stated that the sample received was degraded, but, quote, "The sequence is not compatible with a subject being a coyote, and is in fact identical to the sequences of dozens of dog breeds of domestic dogs. The actual breed could not be determined from the short sequence. McAnally did not call for a conspiracy and apparently used the money from the attention gained from his Chupacabra find to turn his ranch into a second chance home for troubled children and adolescents. So that's nice. Shout out, McAnally. One of the most famous Chupacabra corpse cases took place also in Texas in the town of Cuero. Or I don't know how it's said in Texas. Cuero,
Texas.
Cuero, Texas.
They got them Cueros over there.
Out here in Cuero, where Phyllis Kenyon, a self-described Chupacabra lady, found a body. Kenyon had seen a strange, hairless animal stalking around a ranch and came to suspect that this animal was responsible for killing some of her chickens, but not carrying them off, simply leaving their apparently blood-drained bodies where they were killed. Then, one day, after a couple of years wondering about these mysterious creatures, not one, but 2 dead bodies appeared on her property. She took photos of the mostly hairless bodies of the creatures and preserved the corpses in her freezer. A local TV station offered to pay for samples of the bodies to be analyzed by Texas State University, San Marcos. Kenyon obliged because she was certain that this was something new. Quote, when I first saw this, I was pretty convinced it was not a mangy coyote because it had no hair on it at all. And if you're familiar with coyotes, even if they had sarcopodic mange, this still would have patches of hair. It had no hair and short front legs. When asked if it could possibly be a Xolo, which is a Mexican hairless dog, you've seen them if you've seen Coco, she responded, the closest Xolo is 80 miles away. And there has never been a history of that animal being loose.
She got
so very confident words. She's like, I know every dog in this area.
There's one right an hour away right now.
80 miles away. 80 miles
away. And it's hungry.
Yeah. And you know, even with the pictures that she took, they kind of show hair on the back of the animal. But, you know, memory's a funny thing. Kenyon quickly started to secure the bag. She started selling T-shirts and caps and jewelry in a special live television event aired on Halloween night. The results of the DNA analysis were shared. Biologist came on TV and said, quote, the DNA sequence is a virtually identical match to DNA from the coyote. I really thought it was a domestic dog, but the Cuero Chupacabra is a Texas coyote. Kenyon was not happy with this and paid for her own analysis from a different lab. This lab also determined that the mysterious Cuero Chupacabra was a coyote. Potentially to keep her happy, they did add that it could have some wolf DNA in it. But also they said that most coyotes have some wolf DNA in it. So, you know. But, you know, Kenyon was willing to accept it because it was a hybrid, she believed. And she continued to sell Chupacabra merch. So, you know, the bag was not fucked up for her. So, you know, I want to zoom in because I think the fall off between the Tolentino sighting and the reality of pretty much every other Chupacabra encounter and the dead Chupacabra corpses is very disappointing, right? There have also been skates, which are a shark relative, and raccoons, shout out Montauk Monster, that have been identified as Chupacabras. But the basic pattern outside of Puerto Rico is a dead canine is found, and people think it's a Chupacabra, right? Animals are found dead. It's assumed that they were drained of blood, but the animals are never autopsied or checked by an expert. The only evidence that they've been drained of blood is that they are dead with some holes in their neck. Unfortunately, you know, we know that this is kind of normal because canines tend to kill their prey by targeting the neck. Generally, they don't, you know, they're not going for blood, right? They're not going to bleed out from this. They bite and crush the trachea so that the victims suffocate, right? And when it comes to like dogs kind of do this for fun sometimes. Like they seem to like just kind of be like, oh, like maybe they think they're playing. Maybe they're just kind of a little psycho, but some dogs will just run around and kill. There was like a case where somebody was like, yeah, I chased a dog on like my 4-wheeler and it killed like 25 of my sheep in like 10 minutes because it was just running around biting their necks and just leaving the bodies, right? So the fact that they're left with bite marks and no other like, you know, nothing eaten, not super unusual. Yeah. So yeah, basically, without checking the corpses for blood or having an autopsy done, just having holes in the neck is not enough to prove that it is drained of blood. Blood coagulates as well, so again, autopsy is required to determine whether something has been drained of blood or not. But with these animal corpses piling up, people look for a perpetrator, and generally, if the perpetrator is found, in these cases, it is a dog or a coyote, or they find a raccoon corpse and they blame the raccoon. And even in Puerto Rico at the time, like in the 90s, like biologists and zoologists were like, no, it's just wild dogs. Wild dogs are running around the island and they're just, killing livestock and people are freaking out about it. But yeah, disappointingly, outside of Puerto Rico, people are seeing coyotes or dogs with mange or just hairless dogs. Witnesses of live chupacabras have shared photos of what was later identified as a coyote with mange, which generally they have kind of a row of hair along the spine, which kind of does look a little spikish, I guess, or Xolo dogs. Those are the two main culprits in Central America, right? But where did Tolentino's original sighting come from, right? It's a mystery. Benjamin Radford, who has been a major source for this whole script, proposes that the 1995 film Species influenced Madeline Tolentino's story, either consciously or unconsciously. For those unfamiliar with the hit sci-fi horror film, the story focuses on a human-alien hybrid bred in a secret U.S. government laboratory named Syl, who breaks out and goes on a fuck murder spree, basically. She kills people by fucking them. She's trying to breed because she's an alien. It's kind of an erotic thriller. It's not great. But Syl was designed by H.R. Geiger, who is pretty great. The same artist who designed the xenomorphs in Alien. I think, is he a Swiss? Freaky Swiss artist, H.R. Geiger. Here's an expert from studio production notes describing ideas for Syl. Quote, in the monster form, Syl must be able to move easily and fast. She must have in her biology the means by which to kill without effort. We discussed the possibilities of things like bone spurs, tentacles, and or a barbed, sharp tongue. When she kills, she should leave victims dead in a very identifiable way. For example, if she broke or sucked all the bones or blood out of her victim, this would show that the body was killed by some extraordinary circumstances. Syl should leave behind some evidence that she had been in a location, i.e. bodily fluid, odor, slime, gob, scratches, suction marks, etc. H.R. Geiger's design for Syl has many similarities to Tolentino's recollection/invention of the Chupacabra. Humanoid with large eyes, long limbs and fingers, an oblong classical alien head without ears, and spikes along the creature's back. Likewise, the most common explanation for the Chupacabra's existence, and one that Tolentino supported, is that it had escaped from a secret government lab, and that it was either a genetically engineered monster or an escaped alien. Syl in the film is literally both, and the inciting incident of the film is her escaping from a lab. Species even opens with a scene showing an observatory in Puerto Rico, something that Madeline Tolentino appreciated. Species was released in July 1995. Madeline Tolentino's sighting was in August. And Tolentino has brought up Species and did say that she saw the film before she reported seeing the Chupacabra. She said, quote, in some Species, spoilers ahead, apologies, quote, I saw a movie called Species. It would really be a good idea if you saw it. The movie begins in Puerto Rico. At the Arecibo Observatory, there is an experiment going on in the film, a girl in a glass box as a result of the experiment. When they try to kill her with poison gases, she breaks from the box with supernatural strength. What came from inside the girl made my hair stand on end. It was a creature that looked like the Chupacabra, with spines on its back and all. The resemblance to the Chupacabra was impressive. I watched that movie and wondered, my God, how can they make a movie like that when these things are happening in Puerto Rico? Tolentino basically believes that Species was a documentary, despite the fact that only the first scene is in Puerto Rico, and a lot of the movie is still fucking people to death in Los Angeles. When asked if she believes that there was a relationship between the film and what was happening in Puerto Rico at the time, she responded, quote, yes, but they managed to kill her in the movie. Look, a journalist told me that El Yunque, which is a wildlife refuge on Puerto Rico, was allegedly closed down because of the damage caused by Hurricane Hugo. He told me that the truth was that some experiment had escaped, not monkeys or anything like that. They never found the creatures. We can only speculate, but I'd be willing to bet the journalist was with El Vocero. El Vocero was the main journal or the main newspaper that was publishing stories about the Chupacabra. Almost all the stories came from one journalist, and it's kind of more of a New York Post than a paper of record. A little Weekly World News-ish. So there we have it, the history of the Chupacabra. Someone saw a movie, and then a lot of people saw dogs and coyotes. And we'll be getting, in the next parts, we're going to get a little deeper on other Chupacabra lore. But I think this kind of sets the stage for what we're looking at.
Yeah. I mean.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah.
It just, okay. I know we'll probably talk about this a little bit more, like once we get into my stuff. It's just like, it's just... You know what? I'll shut up. I'll save this thing that I'm about to say for my part.
Okay, all right.
Reel it in, JD. But
all right.
Yeah, I do. I want to go back.
Okay, please do.
It's every time I was like looking, obviously, like my part is gonna be like about the stories and all that stuff. So like I'm looking through like sightings and photos of them, and like whenever someone is like, I am seeing, this is a Chupacabra. It is just a little mangy dog.
Yeah.
And there were like some people who were like jokingly like on a bunch of like Reddit like threads of like, oh my god, just spotted one, and it is their like, you know, like that the dog that's just like all black skin, like hairless kind of thing, and it's just like it's a when it look some people will upload like a photo of their dog kind of like acting a little bit crazy, and it's like, to someone who doesn't know what kind of dog this is, and they just saw this like out on the street, or if they're not familiar with like,
that's a weird looking dog. What that dog doing?
With like a dog with mange, like even at some points, like I looked up what bears look like when they have mange and when they're very skinny, and I'm like, listen, to the unincorporated, to the unaware, if I saw this in the forest or wherever I'm seeing this at, I'm like, what the fuck is that?
Animals without hair look fucked up. Not to get too Rogan-y here, but like a chimp without hair.
Why was that the first thing that I also thought of?
Chimp, well, you know. Yeah, chimp time, baby. We're talking chimps. Without hair, very scary.
Yeah.
Wouldn't recommend looking it up. They're pretty intimidating.
Don't do it. It's just a fucking guy. And it's like so many of this is just like, as a dog.
As a dog.
As a silly dog.
Yeah, and I mean, like, when you go through the stories where people are just like, it's a dog. Like, researchers are just like, oh, wow, I thought it was a dog, but it turns out it was actually a coyote. Well, that's like... That's something that where someone was like, "Wow, I'm surprised." It's like, okay, like,
so it's still like a canine type.
It's just right.
It's still looking like a dog. So I was like,
it's like a very an expected predator of livestock, just a normal
as a guy,
normal guy.
So I mean, we'll experience some of that thought process during my section, but. Was there, when you were doing your history search on the Chupacabra, was there anything that you, for the first time, encountered, like story-wise, or like some stuff that you hadn't known previously about the Chups?
I think the species comparison was new for me, because it looks. I like that image. I like that drawing, the classic Chupacabra drawing, the one that's been circulating for 30 years. I'll put it up. I guess I have to edit it in. It's great. I love to see a Chupacabra. They're so weird looking. They were like my favorite cryptid as a kid. I will say that. Yeah,
I think this was like one of the cryptids as a child that I saw for the very first time, and I was like, "This is silly, but also a little scary." Like as you were describing it, I literally have the drawing and then the photo of like a screenshot from like species right next to each other, and I'm like, yeah.
I see what you were doing there, Madeline. I mean,
Madeline. She's like, this is a documentary. What I have seen is a documentary.
This is tea. This is
tea. This is tea.
Yeah.
Oh my god. But
that is one of my favorite like conspiracy thinking things. Is that sometimes people believe that the government has to tell you, right? Because they're like doing some kind of like pact with the demons thing. They have to tell you what they're up to, but they do it through like movies.
Yeah.
That is one of my favorite conspiracy brain things. I love that.
I feel like we talked about it at one point in one of our episodes. I think it was like the cloud seeding stuff kind of thing.
Yeah,
where it's like they're telling you that they're doing this secretly, but through Popeyes.
Right. It's like they don't have to tell you shit. They don't have to tell you anything. Why would they? They're like, no, but the moral balance of the universe requires that they tell.
What? You don't have to tell anybody shit.
That is the biggest like crackpot thing when you're just like, nah, they must tell us. They must reveal their plans through films.
Subliminal messaging. They're telling me this in the old school, in the original Little Mermaid movie. They put a giant dick in the fucking castle to tell you about something that I'm not entirely sure of, but they're telling me.
That's right. That's right. Exactly. Species is real. It's a documentary. There are aliens out there. They're coming here to fuck us to death.
Well,
and to breed us.
Don't come to me.
That's it.
Don't fucking do that. Number one, don't fucking do that.
Yeah.
Oh.
Katy Perry confirmed it with her song E.T., which is also about alien fucking. So there we have it.
Wasn't she?
Aliens are real and they're coming to fuck.
Oh, is that why she went to outer space? Was she like fact checking herself?
I think she is. Yeah, she got like a weird space obsession, doesn't she? Is that like kind of a Katy Perry thing?
I have no idea. Well, on our next episode, we'll ask Katy Perry.
We'll get back into it. We'll
get back on it. And our next
we'll get her on the horn.
Yeah.
Hold up, little Daisy.
Little Daisy. I heard she sang while in space. I haven't seen anything.
What is she saying? She sang. Did she sing like "We Are what a Wonderful World"?
Yeah.
Right.
So, using your 10 minutes in space to
just ham it up.
Ham it up. You know.
Be as cringe as possible. It's tough. It's tough.
I guess. You know what, Kenny? You do you.
I think like the joy that people would have had if that crash. Did
you?
I don't think people were prepared for that. Would be prepared for that.
They were
like millionaires.
My God, why?
It'd be hard for them to process.
They'd be like, "What? New submarine moment?"
Right, because the reaction to the submarine, they'd be like, "Oh, it's sort of like a fluke." And like Luigi, it's like, "Oh, these people are. What's going on here?" Three times as a pattern. At that point, they'd be like, They were like, "Okay, so we sent one to
the underwater. We've sent one up to the sky. Which one? Who's going into the volcano next? You know?
Exactly. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Who's going in the volcano next? Let's go ahead."
They like when we die doing fuck shit, isn't it? What is going on here?
Like, nah, there's nothing wrong with us.
Oh yeah, right. Nah, it's not us.
It's not us. It's not all
these
the
people
money.
Crazy.
Right. But
somehow we got the billionaires.
I know. I can't believe we managed to do it every single time.
Fuck Elon Musk. Yes.
Every single time.
Yeah.
But now it's my turn.
That's it. So, folks, thank you for listening to part 1 of our Chupacabra extravaganza. Chupafest?
No. Run it back.
We'll come up with something in the next one. We'll figure it out.
We have another episode.
Something to catch. We got 2 more apps coming up for you guys. Okay. But yeah, this episode was written and produced by Ben and JD. All our music is provided by Yager Frank. Thank you so much for listening. If you like the show, tell a friend. If you don't, tell an enemy. And we'll be back with more Chupa action.
Bye.
Bye.